Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into a world where the glitz of the French Riviera hides some really dark secrets. Our listeners sent us this fantastic text, William Lecoux's The Sign of the Seven Sins, and wow, it's a masterclass in suspense. We're following the journey of Carmela Rosselli. She's a young American woman, and her personal quest for, healing. It throws her headfirst into this sophisticated criminal conspiracy, think high society, hidden identities, and a very, very ingenious method of murder.
Yeah, what's truly compelling about Carmela's story is how her emotional vulnerability becomes like the entry point into this huge mystery. She starts as someone seeking solace, right? Escaping a broken heart, only to find herself navigating this labyrinth of deceptions. This isn't just a thrilling plot. It's really a deep exploration of how quickly appearances can mislead us and how personal biases can, blind us to the truth, even for really sharp observers. Carmela herself says if she hadn't lived it, she wouldn't believe such a strange story was even possible.
Absolutely. And when we first meet Carmela, she's 25, of Italian extraction, described as world-weary. She's traveling through Europe with her wealthy guardian, Ulrika York. Their trip starts in London, then Paris, before they head south, drawn to Nice and Monte Carlo. And it's there, in this opulent salon at the Grand Hotel in Nice, that they bump into two acquaintances from Washington, Reginald Dorn, handsome 22, and Gerald Keppel, son of a big Pittsburgh millionaire. And Reggie is pretty clear right away he's quite taken with Carmela.
And this setting, Monte Carlo, it's more than just a pretty backdrop, isn't it? It's almost a character itself. Carmela calls the casino the sign of the seven sins, a veritable hell, she says, which is such a stark contrast to how it looks, all dazzling on the outside. Reggie Thorne, who seems to know the place, warns them that gambling is one of the sweetest and most insidious of vices. He paints his grim picture of ruin and disturbingly high suicide rates, which he claims the authorities actively cover up, finding it cheaper to bury a corpse than to pay a ruined gambler's fare.
That's not just about individual weakness. It's a real critique of a system profiting from despair and then hiding the fallout.
That's a really powerful point about the system. And Reggie, ironically, becomes this immediate example of Monte Carlo's, its fickle nature. During their visit to the casino, he has this absolutely incredible winning streak at roulette. He hits the maximum of the zero trois not once, but 3 times. Then he makes what the text calls a formidable assault upon the bank, basically betting big against the house, and he racks up over 60,000 francs. Carmela, though, she has small initial wins, sees the danger, and wisely decides not to play again. It's such a fascinating contrast, isn't it? Reckless abandon versus cautious restraint right there in the same room, but the excitement, it doesn't last. After dinner, Reggie heads back to the casino. He needs to exchange his huge pile of winnings for larger notes, promises to be back in 10 minutes. He never comes back. Later that night, Carmela and Ulrika are in their sitting room at the Grand Hotel, and they stumble upon something horrifying. Reggie Thorne.
And just like that, the stakes shift dramatically, from financial ruin to murder. This sudden, brutal death immediately throws Carmela and Ulrika under a cloud. The police investigation puts them in a most unpleasant position. There's clear suspicion of us, as Carmela puts it, but the key thing, the 60,000 francs Reggie won, it's gone. Vanished. Gerald, Reggie's friend, his theory's quick. Reggie was followed from Monte Carlo with evil intent. And the local press, like the Petit Niçois, they don't hold back. They're full of undisguised suspicion and sorry sarcasm aimed at Mademoiselle Y&R, even implying the killer might still be in the hotel. The author uses this initial setup brilliantly, not just for plot, but to show how quickly suspicion can target the innocent.
Yeah, and the story takes an even stranger turn during the carnival. The Bal Masqué in Nice, it's chaotic, colorful, confetti everywhere. Carmela's there, still trying, kind of hopelessly, to find Ernest Cameron. And she's approached by this really mysterious figure dressed as an owl. This owl knows things. Unsettling things about Carmela's past, her love for Ernest, her connection to Benjamin Keppel, stuff no stranger should know. And then comes this chilling warning. Don't marry Keppel, or you'll end up like Reggie Thorne, dead.
That intimate knowledge, especially about her unspoken plans, it creates this intense psychological vulnerability, doesn't it? It's not just a threat. It feels like an invasion of her private thoughts. And after what just happened to Reggie, a direct warning like that, it carries serious weight. The author uses this encounter, I think, to deepen the mystery, to suggest a much smarter, more informed enemy than just some random killer. This hidden threat, operating right out in the open during the carnival chaos, it really highlights how pervasive the deception is in this story.
It definitely raises the stakes, yeah. And then the owl hands her a packet and says she only opened it back at her hotel. And the contents, absolutely shocking, the 60,000 francs, the money stolen from Reggie Thorne. So Carmela thinks, okay, this is it. Vital evidence. She reports to the police immediately, but this is where the conspiracy shows its audacity, its depth. She's tricked by two bogus detectives. They pose as agents from Marseille and just smoothly take the money off her hands. It's a complete double cross. It proves this isn't just one killer, it's an organized, calculating network. And despite all this just incredibly harrowing stuff, Carmela and Ulrika decide to continue their trip. They join Benjamin Keppel's magnificent steam yacht, the Vespera, for a cruise. Now, Keppel himself is quite a character, a study in contradictions. He's the Steel King, immensely wealthy, but personally very frugal, known for wearing paper collars, a rusty steel watch chain, and he has this secret hobby of turning ivory, just for pocket money. But it's Carmela's next move, her spying, that changes everything. One stormy night, she sees a light in Keppel's private deckhouse. It's usually locked. She climbs up to a ventilator, peers in, and witnesses Keppel with a woman who looks dead. And she overhears a man's voice suggesting blowing up the yacht to hide the body.
Okay, wow. This is where the plot just explodes, doesn't it? From murder to a plan for mass destruction. Why would Benjamin Keppel, the respected Steel King, be involved in something so diabolical? And who is this unseen man, the one who seems to have Keppel under his thumb, the one calmly suggesting, if the Vespera goes down, the body will go down with it and the sea will hide our secret? The author just expertly shifts our whole understanding of the conspiracy scope here.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're questioning everyone, everything. It's a chilling reminder, really, that wealth and status are no shield against, well, the depths of crime.
Carmela, though, she has incredible presence of mind. She acts fast. She forges a telegram, pretends it's from Keppel to Captain Davis, redirects the yacht to Genoa instead of Naples. And just like that, she stops the planned explosion. It's remarkably bold, really risky, but it shows how much she's changed, how active she's become in this. Her next move, just as audacious. She follows Keppel by train from Leghorn, and to her total astonishment, the dead woman from the yacht. She's alive, and traveling with him, disguised in a fawn cloak. On the train, Carmela actually manages to become her compartment mate. Clever. And soon she notices these peculiar marks on the woman's throat. Finger and thumb marks, eerily identical to the ones found on Reggie. The woman just brushes it off as it was a lurch of the ship. Imagination. Though later she does mention taking narcotics to sleep.
This is a great example of that layered deception we talked about, and how the author plays with our perception through Carmela's eyes. The woman who seemed dead is alive, and those identical marks, they're a crucial clue, but also ultimately misleading. It lets the author reinforce Carmela's suspicions and ours, right alongside her, even while the real truth stays hidden. It's just masterful how easy it is to misinterpret things when your own biases, like Carmela's heartbreak, her belief Keppel's a villain, cloud your judgment. We, just like Carmela, are kind of forced to jump to conclusions based on partial truths, constantly reevaluating who to trust.
Exactly. So Carmela keeps following them, relentlessly, all the way to Paris, shadowing Keppel and this mysterious woman. And then, another gut punch. She sees Ernest Cameron join them, which leads her to believe he must be in on it. An accomplice in Reggie's murder. And all that old heartache for Ernest just comes flooding back, mixed with this fresh, bitter sense of betrayal. It fuels her need for justice even more. So in Paris, Carmela overhears Keppel and Ernest talking. They're discussing how fortunate Ernest was to escape arrest for Reggie's murder, which of course just cements her belief that he's guilty. Driven now by this desire for justice and maybe a bit of personal vengeance too, she watches Ernest closely, sees him leave a coded message on a cafe table. J. Tayback, 22. She quickly connects Tayback to a hairdresser she'd noticed earlier on the Rue de Bac and realizes the owl from the carnival must be part of this network. And these cafe tables, they're being used as, like, secret criminal notice boards.
Right. And this is where the sheer sophistication of the whole criminal operation really comes into focus, using cafe tables for coded messages. It wasn't just a plot device, it actually reflected real methods used back then, a popular trope in thrillers tapping into anxieties about these hidden threats. And Ernest's casual confidence about escaping capture, even though his description was apparently, quote, circulated through every town and village in France. It just underscores that this isn't some simple crime. It's, as the text says, an organized, fine art of crime. A widespread network operating with real precision, far beyond what Carmela initially imagined.
Fueled by this new knowledge and just sheer determination, Carmela, who is now so far from that world-weary woman we first met, infiltrates a secret gambling house in the Rue du Bac. She is absolutely committed now. She wants to expose the truth. Inside this hidden gambling den, Carmela confronts them, dramatically. Ernest and the fair-haired woman, Julie Fournereau. She accuses them point-blank of murdering Reggie. But the truth, when Ernest finally reveals it, it completely shatters her reality. Julie Fornero, it turns out, is an adventuress, a sharping cheat basically, a professional swindler who rigs games. Reggie had lost heavily in her Paris gambling house and threatened to expose her. That was the motive. And the woman Carmela thought was dead on the yacht. That was Reggie's mother, Mrs. Thorne. Benjamin Keppel was secretly protecting her on the Vespera while Ernest investigated the real criminals. Keppel's gasp, the one Carmela overheard as murder. It was actually relief. Mrs. Thorne suffered from fits and was just unconscious, not dead.
Wow. That is the ultimate twist, isn't it? The big gotcha moment. Carmela's initial perceptions and ours along with her, they're just completely flipped upside down. Ernest, the suspected villain, he's actually been working tirelessly behind the scenes to find the real killer. It's such a brilliant demonstration of how misleading appearances can be, how we jump to conclusions based on, half the story and our own emotions. It's a really powerful narrative reversal, forces us to reevaluate every single assumption we made. Just testament to Lecoeur's skill at keeping you constantly off balance.
And the true murderer is finally unmasked. Jean Loma, Julie's accomplice, and none other than the owl from the carnival ball. He murdered Reggie with his diabolical poison thimble. Apparently, it had a fine hollow point, like that of a hypodermic syringe, filled with this subtle, deadly poison from a lizard found in the upper Niger. The puncture mark, virtually invisible, looks like natural causes. And the poison causes instant collapse. Loma gave the stolen money to Carmela, disguised as the owl, specifically to frame her, and he instigated the plot to blow up the yacht, not Keppel. It was to cover up his own theft from a Lord Stoneborough, completely separate from Keppel protecting Mrs. Thorne. It's just this intricate, calculated web of villainy. And just as Lamont is exposed, the police raid the gambling house. Perfect timing. In the chaos, the struggle, he falls victim to his own invention, dies in frightful agony from his own poison thimble, in a kind of twisted, poetic justice served by his own hand.
Carmela's journey. It's really something. From this heartbroken woman looking for an escape to becoming this active, determined force for justice. It's quite remarkable. This deep dive into the sign of the seven sins really shows how fast anyone can get tangled up in a high-stakes world, where trust is a luxury and deception is truly a fine art. It's a potent reminder that behind the most glittering surfaces, you can find the darkest secrets and the most ingenious crimes, all meticulously planned.
The story wraps up with a resolution that feels, well, earned after everything. Carmela and Ernest reconcile, find their peaceful happiness, and they get married. Ulrika and Gerald also marry, with Keppel's blessing. Mrs. Thorne finds peace back in Philadelphia, and Benjamin Keppel, the eccentric steel king, he continues his life. Secret ivory turning, lavish, entertaining in Nice, his reputation for discretion and his odd hobbies totally intact.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? I think the story is really a masterclass in critical observation. And in deconstructing your own preconceived notions, it forces you to acknowledge how easily our own biases, our hopes, our fears can color how we see things, leading us down completely wrong paths. It's a really compelling argument for seeking out multiple perspectives, for questioning what seems obvious, and for understanding that the truth is often way more intricate and surprising than any quick first impression.
Yeah. The deep dive into the sign of the seven sins leaves us with this thought. In a world that's constantly showing us glittering surfaces and hidden depths, what signs might you be overlooking in your own search for truth? And what seemingly obvious conclusions might actually need a second look? Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.